everybody, it's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and I'm looking forward to guiding you through today's core and stretch class, which is going to be really focused on opening up the upper part of the back, like between the shoulder blades and from like where the uh, shoulders and the neck are meeting each other. Just checking out, I'll go back for a second. All right. So if you notice that, you tend to bring your head forward a lot, either because you've got some text neck, maybe your desk isn't the most ergonomic, maybe you drive like this, maybe you have so much brain, your head's just heavy. This is going to be the class for you. We're going to start down on the floor in just about 2 minutes. I encourage you to have a dish towel that you've rolled up that you can place your forehead on the floor. You don't have to have any weights, but if you do for the beginning portion, very light weights. So take a moment, you've got 1 minute to grab whatever you need. And then we're going to start relaxed down the mat. All right. Just making sure I'll be able to see my arms. Let me shimmy this back. Okay, great. So we're going to start laying down on the floor. Make sure you have some space around you, both to the side, and we're going to want to take some space towards the front as well. And let me start my timer. Pardon me. All right. And then we're laying down here on the floor. Starting off with some alligator. If you want, you can lift your hands up, but I find that lifting your hands up lifts your shoulders up. So let's go for a little bit more of a savasana on our bellies. But if you don't have a towel that you can place your forehead on, um, then yeah, you can definitely go for a little bit of alligator. Whichever one of those two you went for, take a moment and actively squeeze your shoulder blades in and down so that your fingers might have stretched a little bit more towards your knees. And then you can relax the edges of the shoulders onto the mat. So a little bit of separating of the shoulder blades. And just take a couple slow, deep breaths right here. Really focus on breathing directly into these tight spots in your upper back. So on your inhale, maybe you even feel a little bit of a pulling. And on your exhale, just check in to make sure you're still creating as much space that's possible of shoulders drawn down away from ears, but also with that little bit of relaxation in your back. So maybe the tips of the shoulders are still touching the mat. Let's take 2 more slow breaths here, just melting into the mat as much as possible. And I'm even applying a bit of extra pressure through the chest, really making sure the chest is melting towards the mat, even more than the pelvis, to make sure I can relax a little bit through the upper back. So if you hadn't noticed that sensation, take a moment, try that out of pressing down through the chest, a little activation through the back. And then let's move on to our next move. We're going to stretch the arms out to the side in a T. And once again, relax. A little bit of extra pressure of the top of the chest coming down towards the mat. Your feet can be separated or together, whatever feels best. Take a moment to roll your shoulders down and back away from your ears. So your armpits are probably pretty close towards the floor. There's a little bit of space there. Next up, we're going to squeeze our shoulder blades in towards each other. So armpits and upper arms start to lift up off of the mat. And then inhale, lift your hands up off the floor. Exhale, bring your hands back down towards the floor and release back down towards the floor. Each time that you squeeze and lift up, really take a moment to roll shoulders down and back and squeeze and lift. And inhale, hands come up off the floor. As you begin to exhale, hands come back down towards the floor. Release that upper back towards the mat. Let's get about 4 or 5 more of these in. Still moving slowly with your breath, with intention. And I'm still pressing my forehead down into the floor. There's a slight engagement through the feet, just gently pressing the top of the feet into the floor. So I can focus on really working through the upper back. But it's not quite like if we were doing a full Superman. I don't really have my whole lower back and body tense, but you absolutely can if you need to. If that helps, awesome. Go ahead, get one last lift and lower in. Ooh, and then we're going to extend our arms forward. They should be down a little bit here. Not quite. All right. Doing my best. Doing my best. So still hands, head down on the floor for a moment, arms extended forward. You can apply a little bit of pressure into your hands. So once again, start to draw shoulders away from your ears. And then we're going to lift our head up and just look over one shoulder. Stay here for one more inhale and exhale. Bring your head back down towards the floor for 2 breaths. Still working to seat those shoulder blades down your spine. On your next inhale, press into the floor. And remember, you can activate that lower body to help you find that lift. So this time I am pressing the tops of the feet into the floor, not my glutes squeeze, pelvis gently pressed down towards the mat. And then back towards center. Awesome. We're going to keep our head on the towel once again. Open your arms a little bit wider than match width distance apart, but keep your hands in front of you. Your arms are in a Y. I gently run out of space. So I'm just going to move myself back. I'd encourage you to have your legs straight. I don't have a room. Awesome. So from here, we're going to inhale, lift, hands up, giving yourself a big thumbs up, and exhale. Release the pinky finger back down towards the floor. Let's get 5 more. Inhale, lift your hands up. Exhale, slowly lower down. And if you're feeling really tight and tense, you might barely be able to get your hands to lift up off of the floor. And that's okay. You're just doing the best that you can with the body that you have today. And know that if you included some of these stretches in your routine, like 2 or 3 times a week, you're going to start to see a difference, a little bit more opening, a little bit more space. Last one. Awesome. Next up, we're going to go for a regular Superman with a W. I forgot to bring my strap. Did I say that we should bring a strap? I think I mentioned. So I'm just going to grab that fast. Like, all right. So you don't have to use the strap, but this time hands are going to come a little bit more forward. You're going to lift your arms up and then draw your elbows back down towards your hips. I still have my head pressed down towards the towel, so I'm focusing a lot just on the shoulders. So again, you don't need a strap. You can just lift your hands up and then find that W and bring your hands back forward and down. Or you can challenge that range of motion a little bit more by trying to pass this strap over your head. And that might even encourage you to bring your arms down a little bit further. Find that press of your pelvis down towards the floor so the lower back is engaged and feeling safe as you get this one, because we're getting a little bit more into that space, especially if you do find that maybe you are lifting up a little bit, using that exhale to just draw those elbows down. Oh, shoulders are getting tired. Let's go ahead and get two more in. Last one. Take a moment, relax your arms back down by your side. Find that separation of the shoulder blades. Shoulder tips are gently curving towards the floor. Go ahead, bend your knees, windshield wipe your feet in opposite directions. And then we're going to press ourselves up and come on into cat-cow. Take your time as you make your way there, walking those knees in, hips stacked on top of knees, hands, palms right underneath the chest and shoulders. Check in and see if you're sinking into your shoulders and push into your hands, palms. We already got some of those great scapular exercises while we were down on our bellies. So now you really know a little bit more what it feels like. So separating those shoulder blades right here, have your arms nice and straight. Elbows are almost locked and keeping those arms straight. Let's go for a couple traditional cat-cow motions right here. If you want to spend an extra moment or breath in either position, you can. If you want to move a little bit more quickly, also okay. We'll be here for just about 1 minute. And then we've got two more exercises down on the floor before we stand up and get a little bit of strength work. It's going to help us with that upper back area. All right, so take your time. We're going to turn over and lay down on our backs. And as you get down here on your back, go ahead, keep your knees bent. Start to just relax, come into your breath. I want you to be as natural as possible when you first come down on the floor. So, two more breaths. Hopefully, we've all made it down to the floor. And then I want you to check in and see what's happening with your neck area. Is the back of your head and neck touching down towards the floor? And the more that you tend to jut your chin forward, the less likely it is that you can easily get the back of your head and neck towards the floor. This next exercise you can also do standing up against a wall or even while you're sitting in your chair at your desk. So we're just going to take a moment to take our chins, which might have been stretching up towards the ceiling. And you can even use your finger to actively press your chin down and back. Draw your shoulders away from your ears to give yourself some extra space. So on your inhale, maybe you release just a little bit. And on your exhale, Give yourself a really big chin tuck. Maybe you give yourself double, triple chins here. It's okay. Who cares? Try not to care, I should say. And we get into similar thoughts a lot in yoga class when we do, I'm still doing it by the way, wind removing pose. When we work our transverse colon at the very end, and we're trying to get as much of the back of our head and neck and spine flat on the floor. Because ideally, posture-wise, you do want to have your head, your ear stacked over your shoulder, stacked over your hip, stacked over just around like the heel arch of the foot, like that area. And every inch that your chin juts forward more than that, we put 10 pounds of pressure on the spinal column, which is a lot. All right, so let's move on from here. I want you to try and keep as much of the back of the head, of the neck area coming towards the floor. So we still have maybe even a little bit of a throat choked sensation, but you can still breathe. Make sure you can still breathe. We're going to go ahead and make some angels with our arms. I'm going to move down so I have a little bit more space. So we're starting with our arms at our side, kind of like a W or like a goalpost, and with the backs of the fingers still touching on the floor. Go ahead, extend your arms all the way up. Still trying to keep that chin gently tucked in towards the chest. And belly button is drawn back towards the spine. I'm really keeping the lower back pressed down on the floor as well. You might notice things feel a little tighter on one side than the other. Let's go one more time with this nice big W, and then because we're on the floor, let's also enjoy a snow angel. This is a move that if you have a foam roller, I love to do on the foam roller too for a little extra bit of pressure into the spinal column. All right, so now backs of fingers are just going to gently touch on the floor. So we get a little bit more of that snow angel movement. At the top, check in and see if shoulders crept all the way up towards the ears. Take a moment, actively pull them down. Keep pressing that upper back down towards the floor. Let's go ahead and get one more snow angel. Pulling shoulders down, 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 down. Pulling rib cage in. Awesome. And then let's relax our arms down by our side. Make your way to standing. Go ahead, stand on up. And we're going to grab the heavier weights that we have. Just gonna take a nice little tilt right here. So you can see my upper body. That's what we're going to focus on next. All right, I'm grabbing some heavier weights. We're still going for a little bit of a warm up before we get into the strength. Next up, we have some shoulder shrugs. Go ahead, plant your feet firmly down on the floor, holding these weights by your side. Roll your shoulders down and back. Find that lift of the chest, gentle squeeze of shoulder blades towards each other. Take a slight bend in your knee. We're going to inhale, pull the shoulders all the way up. Exhale, start to squeeze them back towards each other and then down. So don't think of it as a circle. Think of it as a really big shrug with this scapular squeeze at the back. And each time you find that scapular squeeze, try not to let the rib cage flare out. So we're really focusing on this motion in the upper portion of the body. Oh my gosh, it's intense. If you're watching me, you see that I even have to like close my eyes for a second because I'm telling you, woo, I'm feeling this, and there's so much focus in this big squeeze. The squeeze back, don't let that rib cage flare, and down. Let's get two more. So equally grounding through all four corners of the feet. Last one, up, squeeze back, and down. Go ahead, bend your knees, bring your weights back down towards the floor. stand on up. All right, shake it out for just a second. Our next move, no weights in your hands. Let's at least start with. We're going to inhale arms all the way up to an I. Try as you inhale your arms up to not let your shoulders creep up towards your ears. So, taking that slight bend in your knee, little tilt of the pelvis, finding that good posture right here. We're going to inhale arms up, coming as high in an I as you can without your shoulders raising. And then exhale, lower arms down. Now we're going to bring them up into a Y and down, still finding that big squeeze of shoulder blades towards each other. Now arms are going to raise into a T, a little lat raise, squeeze, 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 and then elbows stay by your side, arms come into a 90-degree angle, open up into a W. Let's get 2 of these W's. Try not to let that ribcage flare. Awesome. Relax those arms down. Let's come on back through to a T. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Great. Shoulders stay down. Bring it up to a Y. Last time as an I. Great. Shake it up for just a second. Ooh, so much crunching and cracking happened. All right, we've got just about 10 minutes left. Let's get a little bit more into the strength portion of things. I'm going to take a medium size weight. We're going to start really working to strengthen through the upper back, the upper, the mid, the lower traps. So with a medium-ish weight, whatever that is for you, next up we've got an upright row. So slight bend in your knees, take that rounding out of your lower back, so possibly tilt forward of the pelvis. Elbows are going to lead this one as you draw up on your inhale and exhale, slowly lower down. So same thing from the side. I took my regular questionable standing position, tucked the pelvis under just a little bit, opened up the chest, and then exhale, elbows lead. Inhale, arms come down. Let's get 6 more. These are not the only rows that we're going to do today. Still trying not to let those shoulders rise too much as you get into the row. Last 3. And if you need to, you can also do the same thing without any weights, just challenging the range of motion, finding that squeeze into your upper back. Final one. Great. Now we're going to go for another variety of rows, a little bent over row. So think about coming into like a 30 to 40-degree hinge from your hips. We got the upper traps already. Let's start to get a little bit more of the mid traps. So starting with just relaxing, hanging for a minute, pull your belly in to make sure that lower back feels good. And then once again, shoulders drawn back. So already some engagement through the upper back. Your weights are going to come towards your waist. Exhale, squeeze elbows in towards each other. Inhale, slowly lower them down. Exhale, squeeze elbows in towards each other. Inhale, slowly lower them down. Let's get 6 more. And if your weights are a little bit lighter, if you're using no weights at all, take an extra moment up here at the top, really find that squeeze, that big drive through your elbows. Last 2 and 1. Awesome. Bend through your knees, stand yourself up. You might want to stick with these same weights, or perhaps you're going to grab something a little bit heavier. We're going to go for an overhead farmer's walk. I'm going to switch to a slightly heavier weight. We're going to use as much space as we have possible around us. This one is so great for posture and still working those shoulders. All right, so with the weights at the shoulders, you can press through your heels. Take a big inhale, bring those arms up overhead. Make sure there's not a large overarching of your back. If there is, that means the weights that you're carrying are a little bit too heavy. And from here, we're just going to take a nice little heel toe walk forward and then just walk around the room. You can walk forwards and backwards, trying to get just about 20 steps in right here. Keeping those steps nice and small, really intentionally, heel to toe, starting to tire those shoulders out just a little bit. Did they rise up towards your ears? I know mine did. So squeeze those shoulder blades in towards each other. Awesome. And then take your time, plant your feet, bend through your elbows, relax your arms down by your side, bend your knees, place the weights on the floor. Let's take a nice rest through the shoulders. Give yourself a couple big shoulder circles, actually taking some circles this time in one direction and then in the opposite direction. Let's get into that space a little bit more. Oh my gosh, individual shoulder circles, just about three in one direction. And then those same individual shoulder circles, just about three in the opposite direction. Great. Let's do that same thing one more time. So taking a slight bend of the knees, pressing through the heels, using the exhale to bring your heavier weights up overhead, relaxing shoulders away from ears, engaging that upper back, knitting your rib cage in. So I just went from first position, really standing up, that big rounding through the back. Pulling that rib cage in is the number one way, I think, to really align things a little bit better. And then when you take these nice small heel to toe steps, it's easier to focus on keeping the core still nice and engaged and tight. Taking just about 20 steps. How those shoulders feel in, make sure they didn't creep up. Awesome. Go ahead, find a place one more time. So plant your feet. Let's go ahead, bring the weights down to our shoulders. So bring the weights down to your side. Go ahead, bend your knees and place your weights back on the floor. All right. Gonna switch to a lighter weight for this next move. Working a bit more into the scapula. Gonna try this with some fives. All right, so we're coming back into that Y lifting motion that we found before. Plant feet firmly, slight bend of the knees, tuck that pelvis in, draw your rib cage towards each other. Core is tight. Shoulders roll down and back, chest is lifted. We're going to inhale, bring arms up to a Y, and then turn your thumbs down towards the floor. But think about not just turning through your thumbs, finding some rotation through your shoulders. Then inhale, lift up, thumbs back up towards the ceiling, rotate back out through the shoulders and down. I'm going to be honest with myself, having a little bit of trouble finding that full range of motion with this heavier weight. So I'm going to go to something lighter. Maybe that means you even do this with no weight. So back to weight in your heels. Maybe you're still going. Maybe you switch it up. Engage through that core first. Chest is lifted, shoulders down and back. Lift. Find that rotation through your shoulders. There it is. Thumbs towards hip. Inhale, pinkies lead, rotate back out, pinkies towards hip. We're going to go for about 5 of these, having this down and up being one. Good. Keep checking back in with that center line of the body. Back might be feeling really nice and tired right now. I think this is our last one, or let's just finish up right here, wherever you are. Awesome. We got one last move. We're going to come back down towards the mat. Go ahead, bring your slightly heavy weights. Oh my gosh. Smooth as butter there. Yes, I was. So we're coming back into our last move. We've done some dead bugs before. We're going to go for a nice single-sided dead bug with a lat pullover. So working a little bit more down here. So working those abs too. You can do this with no weights depending on how you're feeling today. We're going to get started no matter what by just Coming into this reverse tabletop, go ahead, tilt that pelvis to get your lower back pressed down on the mat, and then push your hands into your knees. Feel those abs firing up. Awesome. If you're going to use a weight, one side is moving at a time. You can either bring your arm up overhead with that knee bent and then bring it right back in, or you're going to straighten out through the leg and bring the arm up all the way overhead. Try and tap that weight for a lat pullover. If your weight is a little too heavy, if you can't get it down towards the floor, maybe switch to a slightly lighter weight. Make sure you're still finding pressure of your one hand against your thigh. Let's go ahead and get 30 seconds right here on one side. Exhale to bring it up overhead. Inhale to bring it back in. Still finding some pressure of the opposite hand pushing against your thigh. So feel those abs firing up. You got 10 seconds left right here. 3, 2, 1. Let's go on back to just pressing both of our hands against our thighs, lower back pressed down towards the floor. Keep your opposite hand against the opposite leg. Take that big old lat pull over and dead bug. Make sure you're still finding your pressure of the static side, the one that's not moving. And remember, you can do the same thing with your knee bent, keeping that 90-degree angle of your leg. Or challenge those abs a little bit more, kicking that heel out. Maybe you even find that you're kicking your heel up towards the ceiling. Just getting a little bit of ab work. Because when our front side feels good, it helps our back side to feel good as well. Last one. Awesome. Go ahead, plant your feet firmly down on the floor. Remove the weight from your hands. Relax your arms by your side. Take a gentle little windshield wiping of your knees to your chest. I'm sorry, side to side, Jessica. Great. Well, that's what we've got for y'all today. I hope you'll stick around for an extra minute or two just to get a few more stretches into the upper body. But we're done with all of the real work and workouts. Cool. So let's go ahead and turn over back into tabletop. Give yourself a cat. Really separate those shoulder blades. Give yourself a cow. Bring your chest forward. Nice stretch into those lower abs. Open your knees nice and wide. Send your glutes back towards your heels. Walk your hands forward. Relax your head down towards the floor for a nice little child's pose. A big opportunity to bring your breath back down to normal, especially if you've been feeling really tight. Some of those moves today might have been really challenging. When our back hurts, oh my gosh, it impacts everything that we do. So I hope you do take the time to be kind to yourself. And likely, whichever of these stretches or strength moves that we did today that was the most challenging, that might be the one that you really need. But if you found it was too challenging, I hope that you'll reach out so that we can find a way to make it work for you. Awesome. Start to walk those hands in. Go ahead, press yourself up. Let's just take a moment in this kneeling position with our chest open. Draw your elbows back towards the back of the room, hands, palms close to your hips. If you're still rounding forward, roll those shoulders down and back. Lift through your chest, draw your rib cage in, pull your chin back for just one more moment together to find that nice long length in your spine. One more big inhale. One more big exhale. Awesome. Remember what this feels like? Do your best to try it out a couple more times throughout the day. And if you find that you're sitting at your desk and you come on back into that big forward leaning, or you're driving and it happens, when you get home, maybe come up against the wall, give yourself some of those great angels with that rib cage nice and knit in. So you're going to feel better. Take that tuck of your chin towards your chest. Do your best to remove your jet. Your best is always enough. And I'll see y'all back here again on Friday. Friday's yin yoga class is also just going to stretch out through this area. It's going to be a little yin yang, a little bit of love, totally different stuff than what we were getting into today. As always, if you have questions or concerns, I hope that you will reach out. I can't wait to see you again soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Keep being awesome.